Imagine a woman who makes the best pies in her neighborhood. Her friends rave about them. Her family can't stop talking about them. And one day she thinks, why not turn this into a business? So she does. She rents a small shop, she gets the equipment, she puts up a sign, and on opening day, the orders pour in. For a while it feels like a dream, but 6 months later she's waking up at 4 a.m., working 12-hour days, handling the baking, the orders, the customers, the suppliers, the accounts, everything. The thing she loved has become a prison. She didn't build a business, she built herself a job, a harder one than she ever had before. According to the E-Myth Revisited, this is exactly what happens to most small business owners. Most people start businesses for the wrong reason, not because they understand how businesses work, but because they're good at something. A graphic designer starts an agency, a photographer starts a studio. The logic seems obvious. If I'm good at the work, I can run the business. But this assumption is exactly what Michael Gerber calls the entrepreneurial myth, or the E-myth. The myth says, small businesses are started by entrepreneurs, but in reality, most businesses are started by technicians, people who know how to do the work, not people who know how to build a business. And this leads to what Gerber calls the fatal assumption. The fatal assumption is simple. If you understand the technical work of a business, you understand a business that does that technical work. But the technical work and the business itself are two completely different things. A brilliant baker who opens a bakery now has to manage inventory, train staff, handle finances, market the shop, and deal with every operational problem that comes up, all while still baking. A talented graphic designer who starts an agency suddenly has to become a project manager, a salesperson, and an HR department. The skill that made them valuable is now just one of a dozen things they have to do, and usually the thing they have the least time for. Gerber points out that more than 80% of small businesses fail within their first 5 years. And one of the reasons, he argues, is a misunderstanding about what it actually means to build a business. To understand why this happens, Gerber introduces one of the most powerful ideas in the book. Inside every business owner, there are actually three different personalities. The first is the entrepreneur. This is the visionary, the person who sees opportunity everywhere, thinks about the future, and dreams about what could be built. The entrepreneur is restless, creative, and always focused on the big picture. The second is the manager. The manager is the organizer, the person who craves order, builds systems, creates processes, and makes sure things actually get done. Without the manager, businesses become chaotic. The third is the technician. The technician is the one who does the work. The technician loves action. They want to build, cook, or design something. The technician lives in the present, focused on the task in front of them, not the strategy behind it. And here's the key insight. Most small business owners are dominated by the technician. In fact, Gerber suggests the typical owner might be something like 70% technician, 20% manager, and 10% entrepreneur, which means the person running the company is the person most obsessed with doing the work. And when that happens, the business becomes completely dependent on one person, the owner. Think about a small restaurant owner who's also the chef, the manager, and the one dealing with suppliers. When they take a day off, everything slows down. The business doesn't work without them. In that situation, the business isn't really operating independently. It's still heavily dependent on the owner. This is where many entrepreneurs get stuck. Because the goal of a real business is not to create a job for yourself, but to build a system that produces results consistently, with or without you. Gerber suggests thinking about your business the way franchises do. Think about KFC or Domino's Pizza. No matter where you go, the experience is almost identical. That consistency doesn't rely on extraordinary employees. It comes from systems designed so that ordinary people can deliver consistent results. That's the standard Gerber wants you to aim for. Not, can I do this work well? But, can I build a system that does this work well, without me being the one doing it? So, how do you actually do this? Let's walk through the practical framework inspired by the E-Myth Revisited. Step 1. Escape the technician trap. The first shift is mental. Technicians believe, my business depends on my skill. Entrepreneurs believe, my business depends on the system. This means your goal is not to become better at the work. Your goal is to design a business where the work can be done consistently by anyone who follows the system. Step 2. Design the business like a system. Think about a simple car wash franchise. Every location follows the same process, the same sequence, the same timing, and the same result. Gerber calls this designing your business as a franchise prototype. Even if you never franchise your business, you should design it as if you might one day replicate it thousands of times. That mindset forces you to build something scalable. Step 3. Document the process. Most small businesses run on memory, which means everything depends on the owner. But systems require documentation. How to answer the phone, how to onboard clients, how to produce the product, how to deliver the service. When processes are written down, the business becomes teachable, and teachable businesses can grow. Step 4. Create clear roles. Another common mistake small business owners make is trying to do everything themselves. But businesses need structure: sales, marketing, operations, customer support, and finance. Even if you're a team of one, you should still think in terms of roles. Separating these functions in your thinking stops everything from collapsing into a single, undifferentiated pile of stuff I have to do. It also makes it easier to eventually hire or delegate. Step 5. Standardize operations. Consistency builds trust. If customers get a different experience every time they interact with your business, the business feels unreliable. Systems remove randomness. Standardized operations ensure that the same quality, service, and experience happens again and again. Step 6. Measure what matters. A scalable business needs clear standards. You need to know what success looks like and whether the system is producing it. Track the numbers that show whether your systems are working: sales, delivery times, customer satisfaction. When performance is measured, problems become visible and improvement becomes possible. Step 7. Work on the business, not in it. This may be the most famous idea from the book. Entrepreneurs who succeed spend time working on the business, not just inside it. Working in the business means doing tasks. Working on the business means designing systems, improving processes, developing strategy, building the organization itself. And this shift is what transforms a small operation into a real company. Once you understand this framework, two powerful insights emerge. The first is that many entrepreneurs accidentally trap themselves. People start businesses in search of freedom, but without systems, the business becomes completely dependent on the owner. And when everything depends on you, you can never truly step away. What began as freedom slowly turns into dependency and eventually exhaustion. The second insight is that systems often beat talent. Talent matters, but talent alone doesn't scale. Systems allow ordinary people to produce excellent results consistently. That's why franchises succeed. The power isn't in the individual, it's in the process. Entrepreneurship is often romanticized. We imagine freedom, creativity, independence. But the real goal isn't just to work for yourself. It's to build something that works without you. Because when a business depends entirely on the owner, it isn't really a business. It's just a job. And the moment you design systems that allow the business to run without you, you stop being the worker inside the machine and become the architect of it. That's it for today's video. If you found this useful, like the video and subscribe for more insights on money, business, and smarter thinking. I'll see you in the next one.